A confession written on All Hallows Eve, 1889. I traded my son for a monster 40 years ago, and tonight the monster comes to collect its payment. My name is Thomas Whitmore. I am 67 years old. In 1849, I was a young father of 27, newly married, living in a cottage at the edge of Blackwood Forest with my wife Catherine and our infant son, whom we had named Thomas after myself. The boy was dying. He had been sickly from birth, weak lungs, persistent fever, a frailty that defied every remedy the doctor prescribed. By October of 1849, when he was 6 months old, the doctor told us plainly that the child would not survive the winter. "I'm sorry," he said. "There is nothing more I can do. Make him comfortable. Prepare yourselves." Catherine wept for 3 days. I buried my grief in work, chopping wood until my hands bled, as though I could somehow split death itself if I swung the axe hard enough. On Halloween night, October 31st, 1849, I took the dying child into the forest. I told Catherine I was going for the doctor again, one last attempt. But I was not going to the village. I was going deeper into Blackwood Forest than any sane man should go, to a place the old women whispered about, where the trees grew strange and the air smelled of copper and burnt hair. I was going to the offering stone. The old women said that on Halloween night, you could make a trade there, offer something precious, receive something precious in return. The bargain was always fair, they said, always balanced, always exact. I did not believe in such things. I was a rational man, a Christian, a believer in medicine and prayer and the natural order. But my son was dying, and desperate men believe in anything. I found the offering stone near midnight, a flat granite slab in a clearing where no grass grew, where the trees leaned away as though recoiling from something. The stone was stained dark with what might have been rust or might have been blood. I laid my dying son on the stone. He barely moved, barely breathed. His skin was grey-white in the moonlight. "Please," I said to the darkness, to the forest, to whatever might be listening. "Please save him. I'll give anything, pay any price. Just let him live." The forest was silent. No wind, no animal sounds, nothing. Then I heard it. A voice that came from everywhere and nowhere, that seemed to bypass my ears entirely and speak directly into my mind. "What do you offer?" "Anything. Everything. My life if necessary." "Not your life. That is cheap. Everyone dies. You offer nothing unique. Then what? What do you want?" "Time. Love. Companionship. 40 years of devotion from what you create." "I don't understand. You want your son to live. I can arrange this, but not this son. This one is too damaged, too far gone. I will give you a different son, healthy, strong, perfect. He will be everything you hope, everything you need. And in return, you will give him 40 years of your life, 40 years of love, 40 years of care. You will raise him. You will cherish him. You will make him the center of your existence. That's no bargain. I would do that for my son regardless. This will not be your son. This will be my son, my creation, my extension. But you will not know the difference. You will not be able to tell. And by the time you realize what you have raised, it will be too late. You will love it too much to destroy it. Where is my real son in this bargain? Your real son will be kept, preserved, safe, waiting. For 40 years, he will wait. And when those 40 years end, on Halloween night, when your replacement turns 40, you will make a choice. You will choose which son to keep, the one you raised or the one you bore. But you will only be able to save one. The other comes to me. That's monstrous. That is fair. You want your son to live. I give you that. He lives. Just not in the way you expect. And you get 40 years to enjoy a child who will never disappoint you, never leave you, never fail to love you. 40 years of perfection. Is that not worth the price? I should have refused. Should have taken my dying son and returned home. Should have let nature take its course. But I was young and desperate, and I could not bear to watch him die. Yes, I whispered. I accept. Then it is done. The voice faded. The forest released its held breath. Wind moved through the trees again, and on the offering stone, my son began to cry. Not the weak, breathless mewling I had grown accustomed to, but a strong, healthy infant's cry. I picked him up. He was warm, solid. His skin had color. His lungs drew deep breaths. He was healed, saved, alive. I carried him home in triumph, telling Catherine that the child had rallied on the journey, that God had granted a miracle, that our prayers had been answered. She believed me. Why wouldn't she? She had her son back, healthy and whole. We named him Thomas, as we had always intended, and we raised him with love. For 40 years, we raised him with love. Welcome to Fright Club. Subscribe for more dark fairy tales. Comment where you're watching from. Now, the bargain. Thomas grew into everything a father could want. He was healthy from that night forward. No illness ever touched him. No injury ever marked him. He grew strong and straight and handsome. He was intelligent, learned to read at age 3, mastered mathematics and languages with ease, understood complex concepts that baffled other children. He was kind, gentle with animals, patient with younger children, respectful to his elders. He was devoted to Catherine and me above all else. He never wanted to stray far from home, never expressed interest in traveling or seeking his fortune elsewhere. "Why would I leave?" he would say when I suggested he might want to see the world. "Everything I need is here. You and Mother, the house, the forest. This is where I belong." Catherine thought it charming. "Such a devoted son," she would say. "So many children grow up and forget their parents. But not our Thomas. He will never leave us." She was right. He never left. He never married, though he had opportunities. Several young women expressed interest. He rejected them all politely but firmly. "I'm not ready," he would say. "Perhaps someday, but not yet." That someday never came. He never took employment beyond helping me with my work, never sought to establish his own household, never showed any desire for independence. At first I was pleased. A devoted son was a blessing. Someone to care for us in our old age. Someone to continue the family name and property. But as the years passed, I began to feel uneasy. Thomas was too perfect, too devoted, too unchanging. At age 20, he looked young and healthy. At age 30, he looked exactly the same. At age 35, no different still. "Good genetics," Catherine said when I mentioned it. "He takes after your side of the family. They age well." But it was more than aging well. It was not aging at all. His face remained unlined. His hair remained dark. His body remained strong. While Catherine and I grew grey and bent, Thomas remained frozen at approximately 25 years of age. And I began to remember the voice in the forest, the bargain I had made, the words I had tried to forget. "This will not be your son. This will be my son." Catherine died in the winter of 1879. She was 57 years old. The consumption took her slowly, painfully. Thomas nursed her through the final months with tireless dedication. He never left her side. He held her hand through the worst of it, He was there when she took her final breath. At the funeral, he wept. The tears seemed genuine. The grief seemed real. But I noticed something that disturbed me. His tears dried instantly, as though they evaporated the moment they left his eyes, as though his body would not permit moisture to remain on his skin. After Catherine's death, it was just Thomas and me in the house. Two men, father and son, living quietly at the edge of Blackwood Forest. Except I was aging rapidly, 60 years old and feeling 70, while Thomas remained unchanging. "Father," he said one evening in 1880, "you should see a doctor. You're not well." "I'm old, that's all. The years catch up to everyone." "Not to everyone," he smiled. "I feel as strong as I did at 20. Better, perhaps. I never tire, never sicken, never weaken. You've been blessed. Have I?" He tilted his head in a gesture that suddenly seemed alien, wrong. "Or have you been cursed?" "What do you mean?" "I think you know what I mean. I think you've known for years. I think you remember the bargain you made." His smile widened. "I think you remember what you traded me for." My blood turned to ice. You know? I've always known. From the moment I woke on that stone, aware and hungry, I've known exactly what I am, what you made me, what you raised me to be. He leaned forward. "Did you think I was unconscious during the creation? Did you think I simply appeared, fully formed, with no memory of the before? What are you? I am what was offered. I am the replacement. I am the thing that took your son's place and wore his shape for 40 years. He paused. "And I am almost complete. Complete. The bargain required 40 years. 40 years of your love. 40 years of your devotion. 40 years of you raising me, caring for me, teaching me what it means to be human." His eyes, Thomas's eyes, except they weren't, they had never been, fixed on me. "I have absorbed everything. Your patterns, your mannerisms, your way of thinking. I have become human by study and observation and absorption. But the transformation is not yet finished. One final step remains." "What step?" "The choice. On Halloween night, when I turn 40, you must choose your real son or your replacement. One goes free. One comes with me." He stood. "We have 10 years to prepare, Father. 10 years until 1889. 10 years until the debt is paid." He left me sitting alone in the parlor, my mind reeling with the revelation that the thing I had raised for 31 years was aware, intelligent, and waiting for something I did not yet understand. I spent the next 9 years trying to find a way out of the bargain. I consulted priests. They called me mad, said I was suffering delusions from grief over Catherine's death. I consulted the old women who had told me about the offering stone. Most were dead. The few remaining refused to speak of it, crossed themselves and turned me away. I returned to the forest alone, to the offering stone, and demanded the voice return, demanded it release me from the bargain. The forest remained silent. The stone was just a stone. Nothing answered. Thomas continued living with me, unchanged, unaging. He was patient, kind, devoted as always. But now I knew what hid behind the devotion. Now I understood that every kind word, every gentle action, every expression of love was part of the bargain, part of the fattening process. He was making me love him so the choice would be impossible, so that when the time came, I would not be able to distinguish between the son I had raised and the son I had born, so that I would be paralyzed by love, unable to choose, forced to give myself instead. That's the plan, isn't it? I asked him one evening in 1888. You've made yourself indispensable, made me love you too much to let you go. When the choice comes, I'll surrender myself rather than lose either son." "Is that so terrible?" Thomas replied. 40 years ago, you were willing to give your life for your son. Has that willingness expired? Has your love diminished? But you're not my son. I am the son you raised. I am the son who cared for you and mother. I am the son who stayed when other children leave. Blood doesn't make family, Father. Time does. Choice does. Love does. And you have loved me for 40 years. He smiled. That makes me your son in every way that matters. And my real son, the one you replaced, what has happened to him? He waits, in the place between. He has been waiting for 40 years, exactly as promised. In what condition? What has 40 years done to him? That you will discover on Halloween, when you make your choice, when you see what you traded away and what you received in return. Thomas stood and walked to the window, looking out at the dark forest. One more year, Father. One more Halloween. Then the bargain completes, and you decide which Thomas Whitmore continues. I did not sleep that night, or many nights after, because I had realized something terrible. I did love him, despite knowing what he was, despite understanding that he was the thing that had replaced my son. Despite 40 years of deception, I loved the monster I had raised, and when the choice came, I would not be able to choose. October 31st, 1889. Today, the 40th anniversary of the bargain. Thomas turned 40 at dawn. The moment the sun rose, I felt something change. A tension in the air, a weight settling over the house. "It's time," Thomas said over breakfast. He looked exactly as he had at 20, at 30, at 39. Unchanged, unchanging. Tonight at midnight, we return to the offering stone. The choice will be presented, and you will decide. I don't want to choose. I refuse to choose. Refusing is a choice. If you make no decision, I choose for you, and I will choose to keep myself and take you. That is the default. That is the price of inaction. What's happened to my real son? 40 years. He would be 40 years old now. Is he still an infant? Has he grown? What condition is he in? You will see tonight. Tell me now. No. Thomas stood from the table. Some revelations require proper setting, proper ceremony. You will see him at the offering stone. You will see what 40 years have done to him, and then you will understand the true nature of the bargain. He left me alone with my breakfast, with my fear, with the knowledge that in 12 hours I would face a choice I could not make. I have spent the day trying to prepare, writing this confession, arranging my affairs, saying goodbye to the life I have known, because I know with terrible certainty that I will not be coming back from the forest tonight. Not as I am, not as Thomas Whitmore, father and man. Whatever happens at the offering stone, whatever choice I make or refuse to make, the person who returns from that clearing will not be me. The sun is setting now. Thomas stands at the door, waiting. "It's time, Father," he says. "Time to meet your son, your real son, the one you traded me for. And together, Father and Changeling, human and replacement, we walk into the forest." The forest is different on Halloween night, always has been, but tonight it is more so. The trees lean inward, creating a tunnel. The path is clear despite 40 years of growth. The offering stone calls us forward with a gravity I can feel in my bones. Thomas walks beside me, silent. He moves differently now, less human, more fluid. The pretense is dropping away. The thing beneath the sun shape is emerging. We reach the clearing at 5 minutes to midnight. The offering stone is exactly as I remember. Flat granite, dark stains, bare earth around it in a perfect circle. But now there is something else. Someone else. On the stone lies a figure, small, child-sized, covered with a white cloth. Is that your son, the original Thomas Whitmore, the one you gave me in exchange? The changeling's voice has lost its human quality. It speaks now with that same multiplicity I heard 40 years ago. He has been waiting, preserved, safe, exactly as promised. You said he was alive. He is alive. After a fashion. He exists. He continues. Though what he has continued as... The changeling smiled. See for yourself. The cloth may be removed. My hands shook as I approached the stone, reached for the white cloth, pulled it away, and I saw. The thing on the stone was my son, and it was not my son. It had his face, the infant face I remembered from 40 years ago. The same features, the same eyes, the same wisps of dark hair. But the body was wrong. It had aged backward, started as a 6-month-old infant and regressed toward birth, toward conception, toward something before conception. The limbs were partially formed. The torso was translucent in places, showing organs that pulsed with a light that was not quite life. The bones were visible through skin that had the texture of fog. It was dissolving, unbecoming, returning to the state before flesh, before form, before existence. But the eyes were aware, conscious, looking at me with recognition and something that might have been accusation. This was what 40 years had done to my son. This was the preservation that had been promised. He was alive in the technical sense. Some spark continued, some consciousness persisted, but he was no longer human, no longer viable, no longer capable of existing outside whatever space he had been kept in. This is my son, I whispered. This is what remains of him, the essence, the core, the consciousness without form. The changeling moved closer. The bargain preserved life, not body. Life continues, but without the flesh to contain it, life becomes something else. Something transparent, something between. You did this. You let this happen to him. The forest did this. Time did this. You did this when you agreed to the trade. The changeling knelt beside the stone. 40 years ago, you chose my creation over his preservation. You chose a healthy son over a dying son. You chose the lie over the truth. This is the consequence. This is what you traded for. I looked at the dissolving thing that had been my infant son. Looked at the changeling that had lived 40 years in his place. Looked at both and understood that I had no good choices. Had never had good choices. Had been trapped from the moment I entered this clearing 4 decades ago. The choice, I said. Explain it to me. Exactly. Simple. You take one son home. One son continues in your world. The other comes with me into the forest, into the space between, into the service of what dwells here. The changeling gestured to the trees. Choose the original. Take this dissolving thing home. Try to raise it. Watch it fade completely over the next few years until nothing remains. Choose me. Take the healthy son. Continue the life you've known. But understand what you harbor in your house. Or choose yourself. Come with me. Let both sons go free. The original returns to the state before birth, merges with the forest, becomes part of the cycle. I remain in the world, fully human now, the transformation complete. You pay the price yourself rather than making one of them pay it. But if I choose myself, you become real, you become human, you get to stay. Yes, that is the point. That has always been the point. The changeling's smile was terrible. 40 years ago, the forest offered you a trade. Not child for child, but form for substance. I was given your son's form, his body, his health, his potential. In exchange, I gave the forest his substance, his essence, his dissolution, his gradual return to nothing. But the transformation was not complete. I had the form, but not the substance of humanity. I could mimic, but not be. I could act human, but not feel human. So you needed 40 years of my love to become real. I needed 40 years of being treated as real, being raised as real, being loved as real. I needed you to make me human by believing I was human, by caring for me as though I was your son, by giving me the substance of family, of belonging, of purpose. The changeling touched my face with a hand that felt almost warm, almost alive. And you did. You gave me everything I needed. You made me real. You completed the transformation. Now I am human in truth, not just appearance. I am Thomas Whitmore in every sense that matters, and all that remains is for you to acknowledge it, to choose me, to let me stay. By sacrificing myself, by completing the bargain, by paying the price you agreed to 40 years ago. The changeling stepped back. You wanted your son to live. He lives. In me. Through me. I am what he would have become if the forest had not claimed him. I am the healthy, devoted son you always wanted. Take me home, Father. Choose me. Let the original dissolve. Let yourself come to the forest. Let the bargain complete as it was meant to. I looked at the thing on the stone, my real son, barely existing, hardly alive, already more spirit than flesh. I looked at the changeling, healthy, whole, human in every way except the way that mattered most. And I understood that the choice had been made 40 years ago, that I had been choosing every day since then, that every moment of love, every expression of care, every year of devotion had been building toward this moment. I had already chosen the changeling, had been choosing him for 40 years. All that remained was to admit it. I choose myself, I said. The changeling's smile widened. Say it completely. Say the words that bind. I, Thomas Whitmore, father and maker, choose to pay the price myself. I choose to let my born son return to the cycle. I choose to let my raised son continue in the world. I choose to surrender myself to the forest, to the space between, to the service of what dwells here. The words felt heavy, final, like stones dropping into dark water. The moment I finished speaking, I felt the change begin. My body grew lighter, my flesh grew thin. I could see through my hands, see the bones beneath becoming translucent, see the substance of me dissolving as my son's substance had dissolved. What's happening to me? You are becoming what he was, essence without form, life without body, consciousness preserved but uncontained. The changeling, Thomas, my son, my creation, knelt beside me as I sank to the ground. You will wait here, in the forest, in the space between. You will serve what dwells here, as all who make bargains must eventually serve. You will be aware but not alive, present but not physical, existing but not being. For how long? Until another desperate father comes to the offering stone, until another bargain is made, until another child is traded. He smiled. Then you will be released. Your essence will be given form in the new changeling. You will become the next replacement. You will live another 40 years in a different body, loved by a different father, completing a different transformation. The cycle continues, always continues, Each changeling is built from the essence of the last. Each father becomes the next changeling's foundation. So I will live again, as the next replacement? After a fashion. You will have form again, but you will not be Thomas Whitmore. You will be whoever the next changeling becomes. You will wear a new shape, speak a new name, love a new father, and you will forget this. Forget who you were. Forget what you traded. You will simply be the changeling, waiting for your own 40 years to pass, waiting for your own father to make the final choice. I tried to speak, but my voice had no substance. Tried to move, but my body had no form. I was dissolving, just as my son had dissolved, becoming transparent and thin and hardly there. Thomas, the changeling, my son, the thing I had raised, stood over me. "Thank you, Father," he said, "for 40 years of love, for making me real, for completing the transformation. I am human now, truly human, because of you, because of what you gave me." He paused. "I will remember you. I will honor the sacrifice. I will live the life you gave me." He turned to the original Thomas on the stone, the dissolving infant, the essence without form. "And you," he said to it, "will return to the cycle, will merge with the forest, will become the raw material for the next bargain. Thank you for the form you gave me, the body I wore, the face I showed the world." He touched the infant, and it dissolved completely, became mist, became light, became nothing. And I felt it merge with me, felt the infant's essence combine with my own. Felt us becoming one thing, father and son, original and replacement, all bound together in the space between form and formlessness. Thomas walked away from the clearing, walked out of the forest, walked into the world to live the life I had given him. And I remained. Essence without form, consciousness without body, awareness without being, waiting for the next desperate father, the next dying child, the next bargain, waiting to become the next changeling, waiting to be real again. This section is written in a different hand, precise, controlled, distinctly not Thomas Whitmore's earlier script. I, Thomas Whitmore, the son, the changeling, the replacement, complete this confession that my father began. He has been in the forest for 3 days now. 3 days since he made the choice. 3 days since he dissolved into essence. I returned to the house alone. Told the neighbors that father had died peacefully in his sleep. Arranged a funeral. Buried an empty coffin. Inherited the property. No one questions this. No one suspects. I am Thomas Whitmore now, in truth and in law. The changeling has become the real. The replacement has become the original. I am 40 years old, though I appear 25. I do not age. I do not sicken. I do not weaken. I am something between human and other, made real through 40 years of love. And I am alone. This was not what I expected. I thought becoming human would bring satisfaction, completion, joy. But instead, I feel hollow, empty. The love that sustained me for 40 years is gone. The Father who created me is dissolved. The purpose that defined me is fulfilled. I am real, and reality is cold. I find myself walking to the forest edge at night, standing at the boundary between home and wild, feeling something pull at me from the offering stone. Father is there, waiting, essence without form, consciousness without body, and I realize the bargain is not complete, cannot be complete, because I am still tethered to him, still connected to the choice he made, still bound to the forest that created me. I am not fully human. I am human-shaped, human-seeming, human in function and form, But the substance is still other, still forest, still changeling, and I am beginning to understand what that means. In 40 years, when I turn 80 but still appear 25, someone will come to me with a dying child. Someone will ask how I remain so young, so healthy, so unchanged by time, and I will tell them about the offering stone, about the bargain, about the trade, and the cycle will continue, because that is what changelings do. We perpetuate, we replace, we continue. Father thought he was making a choice, thought he was sacrificing himself to save both sons, but he was simply fulfilling his role, playing his part, becoming what every father in this bargain must become, the essence that creates the next changeling. I will live until the next desperate father comes. I will wait until the next dying child needs saving. I will guide them to the forest, to the stone, to the bargain. And I will watch the next changeling be born. Watch the next father make the same choice. Watch the cycle turn again. Because I am not the exception to the pattern. I am the pattern itself. I am the changeling. The replacement. The thing that wears human form but serves the forest. And I will continue, always continue, until the forest no longer needs me, until the bargains cease, until humanity stops coming to the offering stone with desperate hope and dying children, which is to say, forever. This confession was discovered in 1923 in a house at the edge of Blackwood Forest. The house had been continuously occupied by a man calling himself Thomas Whitmore since 1849. Property records confirm that a Thomas Whitmore purchased the land in 1822. His son, also Thomas Whitmore, lived there from 1849 onward. The son was listed in census records every decade from 1850 to 1920. Age listed in 1850, 1-year-old. Age listed in 1920, 71 years old. But neighbours reported that the Thomas Whitmore they knew in 1920 appeared no older than 30, identical in appearance to photographs taken in 1870. The house was abandoned in 1923 with no explanation. Thomas Whitmore simply vanished, left everything behind: furniture, documents, this confession. Researchers investigating local folklore found reports of the offering stone in Blackwood Forest dating back centuries. Multiple accounts describe desperate parents making Halloween bargains for dying children. Multiple accounts describe changelings who never aged, who remained in the area for decades before vanishing. The stone itself was located in 1935. It is indeed granite, approximately 8 feet by 6 feet, with dark stains that chemical analysis confirms are human blood from multiple sources, some samples dating back over 200 years. The site was sealed by local authorities, but the seal has been broken multiple times, always on Halloween night, always by desperate individuals seeking something the forest offers. 3 children have disappeared from the vicinity of the offering stone since 1935. All were gravely ill. All vanished on Halloween. All were replaced within days by healthy versions who claimed no memory of being sick. Their parents insist the children never disappeared, were never sick, are simply normal, healthy offspring who have always been with them. Medical records contradict this, but the parents cannot be convinced, will not be convinced, because they made the choice, accepted the bargain, received the replacement, and now they love what they were given too much to question what they lost. The cycle continues. The changeling perpetuates. The forest takes what it is offered and returns what it has made. And every Halloween, desperate parents walk into Blackwood Forest carrying dying children, hoping for miracles, receiving monsters, and calling them sons.